Hello and welcome to another edition of What's Next in Finance and FinTech. And it's such an incredible, exciting sector of business that is changing so rapidly. And certainly during COVID-19, there's been impacts in this particular market. But it's a great pleasure to welcome the CEO of OUTsurance, Danie, Matthee, who joins us to tell us about how his company has been the company that's been synonymous for the term "you always get something out." Who joins us. Danie, it's really good to see you as CEO of OUTsurance. Firstly, how has the lockdown treated you personally, and how has it been, running an organization like OUTsurance remotely? I imagine that your entire workforce has been remote when lockdown started off, right?
Yeah, Aki, thanks, and thanks for having me on your talk show. So, yeah, it's been an interesting period. It's really put a new spin on work from home. I think if you had asked most of our team at the end of 2019 whether we could get 4,000 people set up to work remotely, run call centers, all our other services from their own homes as opposed to from our campus, the answer would have been a resounding no. But, the guys were sensational, and within a period of 7 to 10 days, we got the staff up, and for the last 5 months, we've been working from home. It has its challenges. We're a business that thrives on teamwork and collaborating and making quick decisions. So in an environment where you're not together in the office, that does pose some challenges. But it's also had a lot of upside, There's a definite productivity gain. Our customer service levels are as good as they've ever been. Mm-hmm. So it's not all negative, but we do miss each other. Culture is a big part of the game. And not being able to judge those cues when people speak in meetings, the non-verbal cues and those sort of things. There's been learnings along the way also. Certainly, personally, I'm looking forward to being back in the office with the staff, hopefully in the not too distant future.
I'm sure. Danie, OUTsurance is synonymous with company culture, and you've mentioned it a few times. How difficult was it as a CEO to keep that company culture going, with everybody operating remotely? You can only do so much with Zoom and Teams and that sort of thing, for example. But did you find that you had to, increase your communication, whether it be via email or Zoom more often? What did you tweak at OUTsurance to keep that company culture going?
Yeah, Aki, that's a great question, and I'll give you an interesting stat. Since the start of lockdown, we've done more than 1.5 million Microsoft Teams meetings throughout the organization. So, it really has been sort of, they often say death by PowerPoint. It feels a little bit like death by Microsoft Teams right now. So that has been a big part of the communication play. But then, you also have to test yourself and be creative. We've recently run a Q&A session where all our staff could submit questions. Things that were on their mind. There's obviously a lot of uncertainty in these times, people worried about jobs and security and those sort of things. And, we let all the staff ask their questions, we grouped them into themes, and I've been able to respond to them by shooting a few videos, mostly done on my iPhone from home. So, very authentic and raw, not typical OUTsurance quality production, but I think it's been good. And the guys have been fantastic, The teams have been running virtual games evenings and having virtual team braais and those sort of things. So it's been good. It's been creative. The guys have been dynamic about it. But I do think, it's such an important part of our business. If you've ever been to our campus, the energy is actually quite electric. And I think to keep that up in this virtual world it's a day job in its own.
Yeah. I'm chuckling to myself when you said virtual team braai. I know it's COVID and everything, but I don't know, there's some things that you can't simulate, right? Like that smell of wors, the smell of the smoke, But I guess it's as close as you can get, Danie. But it's awesome that you guys are doing these kind of things. I want to touch on the technologies. You mentioned the amount of time on Teams that your teams have spent. Has this particular virus accelerated any of your technology ambitions, and I'm talking about to the cloud, they certainly are. We're very advanced in the past. I mean, your call center, for example, is a world-class call center. But has COVID forced you to, to fast track anything technologically, or shift your operations on your call center to doing things different? For example, many companies talk about the impact the cloud has had, for example, and how they've had to fast track their technologies. OUTsurance, any such advances, fast forwarding?
Yeah, okay, definitely. I think digital adoption by consumers is, it's difficult to pick how quickly it's been fast forwarded, but I would guess, anywhere between 5 to 10 years in the South African context, So a few practical examples. In order for a customer to insure a car with us, as an example, he needs to take it for a physical inspection.
Yes.
And an inspection, obviously in social distancing, that's difficult. So the teams were able to build technology in our apps where customers can upload photos and image recognition. We can see what the state of the vehicle is, license disc, data, and all of that is now put into our systems. And customers can do their vehicle inspections digitally. No need to see anyone.
Amazing.
So, something like that has been amazing. And in our business where we see customers face to face, specifically in our commercial insurance business, again, that's been difficult. How do you sign a record of advice or a document when someone isn't physically there with you, but has met with you over Microsoft Teams? So we built technology to let customers sign those documents digitally. But I think, we've always had a strong technology foundation, and digital and self-service specifically for customers on digital platforms, be those our app or websites, is a big part of our focus and has been for a number of years. But certainly it has accelerated, and the adoption rate from customers has been great, which is pleasing. It really, it's a benefit of COVID that I think has come to the fore. Yeah.
No, that's fascinating. I bet your actuaries must have been working overtime because, I think you were one of the first companies to announce reductions in premiums because we're obviously driving less. How on earth did you guys work out these things? And I mean, obviously, myself, I've been working from home as well, and I actually found out in the middle of April thing, I haven't filled my car tank for a while, so you kind of figure, you kind of take it for granted that you're always in your car. But yet, most of your customers must have traveled significantly less during the shutdown, and you must be seeing it right now. So how did your actuaries actually start working out, the reduction of premiums? Because you were one of the first to announce that reduction.
Yeah, look, okay, I think in the initial phases, specifically April when we were in lockdown level 5, it wasn't that difficult to work it out. It was pretty clear. Almost immediately we could see the reduction in claims volumes. But, looking at our typical claims frequencies relative to similar periods of the year, we could quickly see that there was a dramatic reduction. And from that, we could estimate what those refunds should be to customers. So in May, we returned 15% of premiums to customers for April. Did the same in June again on a 10% of premiums. And what we have seen, however, as lockdown has sort of been unwinded, or we've had more activity in the economy, the driving patterns have normalized. So, at the same time, of course, it's been winter, so we've had lots of home insurance claims, and so it's been a busy period. Also, it's actually been a sort of a story of two ends of the story.
Yeah, the other controversial one was the business claims on business interruption. I mean, OUTsurance took a hell of a stance in that regard. There's been a lot of talk in the industry. Why did OUTsurance decide to pay out for interruption claims in businesses?
Yeah, so I mean, that probably has been the big talking point in the industry. Our view, just simply from the onset, was that the cause of the losses was the virus, so that's our view. And given where our policyholders had the extension for business interruption on their policies, we thought, it's covered. And consequently, it was a decision that we made to pay the claims. Obviously, we were also in a position where our exposure wasn't of such a nature that we needed to rely heavily on reinsurance and the like. So it was a decision we could make. We believe it's the right decision, fair to our customers. So it's actually a pretty straightforward decision for us.
Well done. I mean, it's a great decision you guys made. I mean, COVID has changed all our lives. I think the new normal is us doing this, wearing masks. Despite things getting back to normal, there's still a massive road to climb. And you talk about the scientists and the experts, and they're saying that it could be with us for at least another 2 years or another year for sure. I know that the scientists are working hard on a vaccine, but what is OUTsurance doing to help fight COVID-19? I know you've had lots of interesting publicity and you've sent out lots of press releases on what you should be doing, etc. But it's bigger than that for a company like OUTsurance, right?
Yeah, look, I mean, probably the biggest contribution or the most immediate contribution that we could make is to make sure that our 4,000 staff are safe and healthy. I'm quite proud as we sit here today to be able to say that we've not had a single loss of job or loss of life amongst our 4,000 staff, and we're very grateful to be in that position. Helping the staff with understanding mental health has been a real challenge. People, obviously stress levels are, very elevated. So supporting the staff through that, making sure we can build confidence amongst our workforce, keep them safe, specifically look after the most vulnerable, whether that be the elderly people or people with comorbidities. Yeah. Then also, I think, Aki, in terms of just the communities, I think the guys on the front line serving people, have done a phenomenal job. They've worked around the clock. So providing them with PPEs, we erected some facilities at the Steve Biko Hospital, supplied PPEs to them.
That's awesome.
Worked with Quebeca and Pink Drive to do detection and sanitization in rural areas. We actually used our pointsmen, funny enough, and we retrained our pointsmen to sanitize taxis, to ensure that the taxis were sanitized and that the people in the communities traveling in those taxis were safe. Because, of course, with no traffic, our pointsmen, weren't as needed as they usually are in the great job that they do. So, and then, of course, I think we spoke about business interruption claims also, Aki. Helping those businesses, not only as clients, but remember, a big part of those claims go to paying the salaries of the staff who work there, and that has on-flow in terms of the economic impact. So that, that's a real impact. And most importantly, probably our supply chain. If our supply chain isn't there, yes, our product falls over. So we've done quite a lot in terms of providing interest-free loans to them, paying them early for jobs which may not even have been completed, etc., etc. So all in all, our support package to those sort of 4 groups of communities, clients, staff, suppliers, etc., is in the region of about 400 million rand.
That's fantastic. Danie, I mean, you run a fascinating company, and the insurance industry is absolutely fascinating. Where do you see it going in the next 5 years? I actually took my car for a service the other day, and I was talking to the guy at Toyota, and he was saying that people are now actually servicing their cars, and they're opting not to buy a new car, which is obviously the impact of the economy. And I'm sure you must be picking a lot of these interesting trends with the big data and analytics that OUTsurance uses. But my question to you, Danie, Matthee, is that where do you see it going in the next 5 years? And I know there's fintech, and this sector of the market is changing dramatically. But what kind of trends are you picking up, and where do you see this all going in the next 5 years?
Yeah, okay. I think your point about customers hanging onto their cars longer is definitely a trend that we are seeing. Obviously, the economy, even prior to COVID, has been doing it tough.
Yes.
And customers are certainly holding on to vehicles longer. Not only holding on to them longer, but when they do switch them, they are buying down more often. So, I think we'll probably see some pressure in terms of asset value growth over the next couple of years. And that'll feed into our premiums, so there's a chance because of that, but also because of general economic pressure and customers not being able to afford premiums. And I don't think we've seen the real fallout of the economic pain on consumers just yet. That, there's a chance that there might be a shrinking premium pool in motor insurance. Of course, things like autonomous vehicle technology and so on has already had an impact and will continue to have a bigger impact on claims frequencies. and that may also put pressure on it. On the other side of the coin, we have issues like global warming, and we have more natural catastrophes, more severe natural catastrophes. And again, that might mean that things like property insurance and so on will become a bigger insurance class than what it is today, and that mix between motor and home insurance might change. But certainly, if the economy does tough, so will insurance. If there are fewer businesses in operation, if there are fewer jobs, if we don't create more jobs, if we don't grow the economy, there's no space for insurers to grow into either. So I think, economically, we're probably in for an extended tough period unless we can get the SA Inc. growth engine started. And from a technology perspective, there's no doubt things like autonomous vehicles will have an impact. Fintech and different business models might have an impact. And, we stay close to all of that, and we believe we're well positioned to be able to take those opportunities as they come and not let them necessarily be only a risk, but see them as an opportunity.
Danie, CEO of OUTsurance, the lockdown, I'm sure, has been very challenging for you, but it sounds like you've been running a great operation. It could be anything, from a family life perspective, from a business perspective. Have you had an aha moment during this lockdown to think that, wow, I didn't see it that way, or we can do things differently? What's been your aha moment over the last 4 months?
Yeah, I think this work from home has been an aha moment probably for most people. And as I said, if you had asked me at the end of last year whether we can run our call centers remotely, I probably would have been skeptical. But I think it's opened up a whole new world of opportunities. What are the geographic boundaries we need to be tied to? What does flexible working arrangements look like? What does recruitment look like? Where do our IT people have to sit? Do they have to be in South Africa? Can we recruit from further abroad and still get the work done? So I really think that has been an eye-opener. And also think, consumers' willingness to engage digitally with their insurer and service themselves for many tasks which they otherwise might have to phone a call center for. I think those have been really eye-openers, and I think we can capitalize on those going forward. Yeah, absolutely.
There must have been a very interesting uptake in that interaction digitally versus people phoning in. Are you finding less people are phoning in and opting to do things via the app?
There has been a shift, Aki, but I think the one thing is insurance is also a trust business.
Yes.
And often consumers just want to speak to someone else to get that validation that, I do understand properly what I'm covered for. Am I covered properly? How does it work, etc. And I think over time, people will get more comfortable with doing even more digital.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been a 180, but it's been noticeable, that's for sure.
Okay. Well, awesome. Danie, Matthee, CEO of OUTsurance, we thank you so much for your time and your insights, operating an interesting company, and a company where you always get something out. You see, it sticks in my mind all the time. Danie, thank you for joining us on What's Next.
Thanks, Aki. And just a last word before we sign off. Thanks for all your great work on the traffic at 702 over the years. I know it's the end of the era. You've been a big part of that with our traffic pointsmen over the years, and we really appreciate that, and we wish you well and all the best for the future.
Thank you very much. It's very kind of you, Danie. Thank you.